So in our next lesson, I'm going to talk about how to fill in the bar with all these, extra decorations, so to speak. Uh, because, you have chords. You can have C, G, A minor, F. And then one might ask, well, how do you come up with the stuff that goes in between to fill the rest of the bars? So you can very simply start off with just one chord hit per bar. Now, of course, that may suit maybe a quiet opening of a song, but eventually you'll want to fill it in with more things. Maybe you can try something simple like quarter notes. But even that, some may say it's kind of boring. So it's important to first, before you go about trying different things, to understand what song you're playing, because what you fill it in with will essentially determine the feel of the song. So yeah, it's important to listen maybe to the original song, or even put your own spin on it, or if you want to do that kind of thing. So when guitarists first learn how to play the guitar, they learn their chords, G, D, right? They learn the chord, and then they have to learn a strumming pattern, like a down up kind of thing. Essentially, what I want to teach here is how we can have strumming patterns but using the piano. So you basically, because all strumming pattern really is just to help the guitarist fill in the rhythm with something that helps the song move. So I'm going to break it down for you. I have written down here 5, I guess, classifications of things you can do to fill in the rhythm. So the first one, I call it alternating the bass and the treble. So you can see my hands, kind of doing this. You want to, it's not exactly just 1 2 1 2 like this, but it's more like alternating, which sound comes to your ear, whether it be from the treble side or from the bass. Another thing that's important is to stress certain beats in when you're doing a fill. So you can hear I'm accenting the 1 and the beat in between 2 and 3. So you can think about it like if I'm hitting my notes 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. And of course, that's just for this particular song. But most of the time, that's a pretty safe rhythm to go to if you're unsure. Another technique is to use quiet filler notes that are kind of in the interior of the chord. So what I mean by interior is if you're playing a C chord like this, the interior chord notes would be these notes that are kind of inside between the lowest note and the highest note. So, in the example. So you can hear that I'm, incorporating this quiet note thing, and also what I previously talked about, which was accenting some notes over others. The whole point is that you don't hear everything. You don't want to hear everything. You want to have some notes that you hear more clearly and some notes that kind of just kind of fade into the background as you're playing. Another technique is in the bass side is to use leading notes, as in leading to the next chord, almost like pushing the chords to change. So in this progression we have, C, G, A minor, F. So, just before you change to the G, you hit the C again, or in this particular case they have a specific way to use like a walking bass type of sound. So you can see the bass goes. So this note that I hit just before before the chord change is what I'm talking about. This. So. And then another technique you can use is adding in non-chord notes. So before, when I talked about interior notes, we were only hitting notes that were part of the chord that we're playing. But you can add you can add notes that are not part of the chord. So we have what are called sus notes, which is short for sustain. When you have, let's say, C, if you have a sus2, it means that instead of the third, which is the E, we're going to play the 2, which is D. And then you have sus4, which means again instead of the third, we play the 4, which is F. Now, you don't just want to throw sus's everywhere. There are some chords that work better with sus2 and some chords that work better with sus4. A sus4 works best with the 5 chord. So in C, our 5 chord is G, and our sus4 on the G chord is. So the thing about sus notes is that they kind of create a little bit of tension where your ear kind of wants it to go to a certain note. And in this case, the sus4 makes us want to fall back onto the third. And the reason why the sus4 works well on the 5 chord is because that note, this note here, is C, which is the key that our song is in. So you hear a lot of something like that's sort of what your ear wants to hear. And the sus2, I find it works well on the 1 chord. The sus2 to me doesn't quite want to go to a third as much as, let's say, the 4th wants to fall to the 3rd. Sus2 is almost like to my ear at least, it sounds like it's just kind of smoothing over the chord to add a bit more color. So I like to put the sus2 in the 4 chord. So we're going to use C major again. So if we have a 1-4-5 progression, like 1, you saw that I used the 2 in the 4 chord. Another thing you can do for non-chord notes on the minor chords, so in C again we're using D minor, we have A minor, we also have E minor. We can add the note that makes it into a minor 7th. So for D minor, the minor 7th is you add a C note, and taking the idea of inversions, we'll bring that C note down here and just leave out the D. And so here is the sound of a D minor 7 chord. Same thing with A minor 7, might sound something like this, or you can do that. So one thing to take note of is when you start, putting all of these together, all of the alternating bass and accents and quiet filler notes and leading bass notes, then when you play a song and you play an accompaniment, you start to create riffs, and a riff is kind of like some piece of melody that really is unique to a certain song. So that way when you play it, people know what song it is right when you play it. So something like